is up, super fam and bro vengers alike? I am Sensei Finito, aka Vane Sensei, and welcome to Marvel Bros, where we discuss all things Marvel and everything pop culture. And today, you already know what we gonna do. We are going over the Star Wars Acolyte season premiere. We're going to do some reactions to some breakdowns. I am so excited to check all of these out for real, yo. We're going to check out the breakdowns from New Rockstars and Star Wars Explained, and I'm pumped. You know, I know both of them do their due diligence when it comes to these breakdowns, so I'm excited to kind of see all the things, all the little background Easter eggs that we may or may not have missed, and also make our own theories from all these things that, you know, we're gonna have presented to us in these different videos. I hope everyone is having a fantastic day. As I always say, you guys already know I'm doing pretty good today. It's a Monday. Today is a Monday. I can't lie. You know what I mean? Today is a Monday, and I hope everybody else is having a good Monday as well. If you haven't already, make sure you follow us on social media at Marvel Bros to stay up to date with all things Marvel and everything pop culture. You can also follow me on social media at Sensei Finito to stay up to date with all my thoughts, theories, and opinions on whatever particular thing I may be partaking in at that particular time. Goodness, great. Oh, it's all tangled right there. Okay, I see. And you already know, you can check out that weekly podcast wherever you check out that podcast at. Okay. I hope everyone is ready to talk about Star Wars The Acolyte. I would love to know how everyone feels about this show as well. Let me know in the comments if you're here. Let me know let me know how you felt about the first and second episodes of this season, or just the season premiere. I thought the season premiere was pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie, the season premiere was solid. It did everything that I needed it to in the terms of making sure that there was a solid base in the story first and foremost, and also giving us a making sure that we as the watcher kind of understood what this era is going to hold for us, right? We have a much more dedicated, I guess you can say, police force out of the Jedi than we do normally, right? Like, the Jedi are actually they're here. They're doing the damn thing that they need to do. They are a force to be reckoned with within the entirety of the Star Wars universe, or the galaxy that you can see. Like, you know, when they pull up somewhere, they are pulling out lightsabers first and foremost. They're not really asking too many questions. They're taking people prisoner. They got jails. They're doing all of these things, right? And it's like, yo, they are a actual police force. We even hear Master Soul at one point, you know, say, like, we cannot let this get out because it's going to be something our political rivals will definitely be able to use against us. Like, this is a different era. This is a different era of Star Wars. Things are in a completely different light. Things are getting shined on way different than what we usually see them being expanded upon within the Star Wars that we know. You know what I mean? The Star Wars that we're used to up until this point. It was very heavily political, you know, politic based, excuse me, and I feel like they capitalized on a lot of those vibes even more because of the times that it was in. And you even see with Master Vernestress, I believe is her name, you know, she's not playing any games. She's like, no, bruh, you're tripping. Like, we need to do these things this certain way, and if we're not doing these things this way, then why are we even really doing them, you know? And I really did appreciate that kind of take on the Star Wars universe that we've seen up until this point. Because when you really think about it, we have not got to see like the Jedi. Well, yes, we have, in the form of like cartoons and other things like that. We have got to see the Jedi Council in many different forms, but we haven't got to see the Jedi at their peak. Like, this is Jedi at their peak for sure. This is the time when they literally reigned across the galaxy, and they were a force to be reckoned with, more here than they ever were. this is set 100 years before the Phantom Menace, and with that being said, we are able to really see why the Jedi, even 100 years from now, from this point that we're watching at this right now, right? The Jedi, even though they're not as predominant, they are still a force to be reckoned with. And if someone does see a lightsaber or does see a Jedi, they're like, holy shit! Like they know it's not time to play. It's not a time to mess around. Like, they need to get into it for sure. And I just really appreciate that. And I feel like this show has been able to expand on a lot of those vibes that we've already been kind of established, and show us that, I mean, like Yord, like every time he pulls up, he has lightsabers out first. And there's not, in my opinion, we haven't really seen, like, for those Jedi, the way that they have reacted, they've been ready to smack someone every time, especially with not May, but the other one, Osha. I think her name is Osha, right? They have been ready to take out Osha every step of the way, and that has been crazy to see. But I'm not sure where we go to within the next episode. They really tackled all of the things that I kind of had like. What's the word I'm looking for? All the things that I not necessarily thought about. Man, I can't think of the word. There is a specific word. It's like all of the things, all of the details that I kind of guessed, or all of my guesses, but there's a better word than that. I just can't think of it. Wow, why am I drawing a complete blank? Not even theories, but I guess theories is the best word I can use right now. But all of my theories for the show kind of got put either basically just flat out answered in the first 2 episodes. So I'm not sure where we go from here. But I'm excited to see where we go from here. And I'm pretty sure all of you guys are excited too. But with all that being said, we're just going to go ahead and dive right on into, first off, the new Rockstars breakdown of this this season premiere. And again, new Rockstars is the one. I like me some new Rockstars a lot. Let's get it on.
I'm Eric Boss, and this is a breakdown of Star Wars The Acolyte, episodes 1 and 2. As a series set at the end of the High Republic era, about 100 years before the events of the prequels, this show is blazing its own trail as a Sith murder mystery revolving around a cover-up of a scandalous Jedi crime. I'm digging it so far, and I'm gonna break down these first 2 episodes, scene by scene, for all the Star Wars Easter eggs and the attention to detail that you might have missed. Okay, the Lucasfilm opening fanfare shows lightsaber glares off of droids and metallic helmets, the mask of Darth Vader, then BB-8, then C-3PO, then Kylo Ren, then R2-D2, then a Rebel pilot helmet, then an Imperial Scout Trooper helmet, then a Stormtrooper helmet, and then a Mandalorian T-visor helmet, presumably that of Din Djarin. Then pale blue opening text establishes 100 years before the rise of the Empire, it is a time of peace. The Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic have prospered for centuries without war, but in the dark quarters of the galaxy, a powerful few learn to use the Force in secret. One of them, a lone assassin, risks discovery to seek revenge. Okay, a few things here. The text is pale blue, sans serif, and over a space backdrop, just like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It even has a 4-period ellipsis, just like that text does, which is just a nice touch. Now, previously we were told that this series was set about 100 years before Phantom Menace, which is not necessarily the same thing as 100 years before the rise of the Empire, because the Empire technically began in 19 BBY, which is when Order 66 went out and the Jedi Purge began, which in Star Wars Rebels is what the Empire celebrates as Empire Day, which is also Ezra Bridger's birthday. Phantom Menace is set set 13 years
I don't think I
before
knew that.
in 32 BBY. It's a small distinction, but if the Acolyte is set in 119 BBY versus 132 BBY, it could make a difference on which prequel era characters might appear or be born during the timeline of this series. Sheev Palpatine, for example, has a listed birth year of 84 BBY, and while we do not expect him to appear in this series, for Pablo Hidalgo and the Lucasfilm Story Group to say that Sheev's reported birth date was an apocryphal rounding error by 35 years instead of 48 years just might be an easier leap for them to make. I'm probably overthinking this, but that is what we do here at New Rockstars. The High Republic is a relatively recent era of Star Wars fiction that was rolled out by Lucasfilm starting in 2020, with phases of books and comics and references in the Jedi Survivor game and even the Young Jedi Adventures. But the Acolyte is the first ever live action series set during this era. The High Republic runs from about 500 BBY to around now, which is 100 years before the prequels. The first books included Charles Soule's Light of the Jedi, Cavan Scott's The Rising Storm, and Claudia Gray's The Fallen Star. Those are said 100 years before the Acolyte. We learned the two major historical tragedies of that era. Spoiler warning for these books: the Great Hyperspace Disaster.
No.
30 BB. In hyperspace with a Nihil storm ship, sending a debris field hurtling toward planets. This was an era when hyperspace, detailed in these books, hasn't really come up on the Acolyte, and that might be because this show was being developed before these books came out. But the exception is the inclusion of the character Vernestra Rwoh, a Mirialan Jedi who appears as a youth in Fallen Star, but appears in this series as an adult Jedi Master over 100 years old, played by Rebecca Henderson. Now, technically, Yoda is alive during this time, but the showrunner confirmed that we will not see Yoda on the season. It seems like they're using Master Vernestra as the green-skinned elder authority from the Jedi Temple. All you really need to know is that the Jedi are at the height of their authority when they were monkish peacekeepers who rarely drew their lightsabers, having emerged victors from a past war with the Sith centuries prior. While the Jedi thought the Sith were wiped out, the Sith secretly lived on in accordance to the rule of two, a lineage of master and apprentice pairings. I was actually able to attend a press preview at Lucasfilm's offices in Burbank, watching the first episode with some other Star Wars experts that I really admire, and chat with the creator, Leslie Headland, about her influences and her creative process. And she kind of implied, based off of me reading between the lines, that she might have originally pitched Lucasfilm on an Asajj Ventress spinoff. And they ended up saying no to that, but they did like her take on this morally clouded Sith-oriented story, and they decided to set her pitch in the earlier High Republic era that they had in development. So when you watch this show...
Okay, wait, that's awesome. That's super awesome. We were just talking about Asajj Ventress when we saw the, what was it? Tales of the Empire. I think when that dropped, we were kind of, I think that has her in it, right? No, it doesn't have her in it. I think we were just talking about it would be dope to see Asajj Ventress. Oh no, she's in the other animated show that I can't think of right now. My brain is on a fart. Oh shit. I can't think of it.
Helpful to see it as May as Asajj, and then her mystery master figure as a Dooku figure serving some other master, like Dooku serving Sidious, and trying to recruit an apprentice of his own in order to overthrow his master. We angle down to the planet of Ueda as a hooded figure. May Anastasia, Amandla Stenberg, faces an island with a long rock bridge. Already some interesting details in May's appearance. Braids that cover a barely visible spiral marking on her forehead, chainmail armor hanging all over her robes, and ring-ended blades sheathed all over her midsection piece. She asks this beggar,
"Where's your Jedi?"
Yeah, she says, "Your Jedi," because in this era, Jedi are stationed in outposts in various regions, not unlike priests of the Catholic Church, set up in missions and parishes as a way to exert church authority all over the globe. This beggar wears this mask with this red-orange liquid sloshing around, which might be the same nutrient-rich fluid contained in the jars of the Bomar monk brains carried around by those spider droids on Tatooine, which is first shown in Return of the Jedi and appeared in the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 3. And if it reminds you of the peachy goo in the pods of the human farms in the Matrix, made up of the liquidated human remains, it's okay to draw that connection because, hey, we're about to see Carrie-Anne Moss. This establishment is a noodle bar, and in fact, Lucasfilm hooked me up with a cup of instant ramen with the actual logo of this joint made by Pablo Hidalgo's team, which I also see as a Matrix parallel because in the first film, Neo points out his favorite noodle bar in the Matrix to Trinity, and in 2021's The Matrix Resurrections, Neo picks up food from San Francisco's House of Nanking, one of my favorite places to eat in the city, and it does have truly really good noodles. But these noodles cook on this awesome rotating apparatus where it looks like another cook ladles hot water on them whenever they reach the bottom, which has got to be a really great way to keep them perfectly al dente. But May confronts Master Indara, Carrie-Anne Moss, Trinity from The Matrix, and Jerry Hogarth from Jessica Jones. And while these other guys sit with her lap, Indara silences them, never taking her eyes off May.
Attack me, Jedi.
Jedi do not attack the unarmed.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, a little clue that this is personal for May.
Yes,
Jedi.
you do. See, that's the thing that I didn't understand. It's like they keep saying, oh, she died in the fire. She died in the fire. But for her, she's definitely making it more seem like she was attacked and damn near like killed. So I'm wondering if the Sith like pretended to be Jedi, or if one of the Jedi is actually a Sith and that's who attacked her, or like
including Master Indara must have injured her some way. This entire series is about exposing the hypocrisy of the Jedi Order, that they are not as perfect as they come across. Indara slowly rises, letting May beat the crap out of all these guys that she was with. Not very good friends, I would imagine, but the guy whose blaster sticks in his holster has these awesome bands on his antlers with rings hanging off like earrings. Indara finally intervenes and they fight with hand-to-hand combat that the show's production has called Force Fu, an uncommon fighting style in Star Wars, but one that brings more elegance to this era. Notice how Indara doesn't immediately ignite her lightsaber, but you'll notice May always reaches for it. Indara notices this too and gracefully turns her torso, giving us a look at her Jedi robes. Despite having less access to the High Republic stories, this show's production did have access to Lucasfilm's designs for the Jedi apparel during this era, and already we see how Indara's tan tunic is perfectly folded and pleated like a martial artist to allow for maximum flexibility and not to come undone. Even Indara's martial arts are mostly defensive. She always steps out of the way and blocks and uses the Force only to repel, but never ever strikes. May draws a metal blade and Indara stops it with the Force, and then May does this awesome move that happens so fast it's hard to notice it. She draws her other hand past it and summons that blade to her empty hand to try to lunge that into Indara's neck. So May knows the Force well enough to know that Indara is using the Force to restrain her arm, not the blade itself, so that she can fling that blade from one hand to the other and use that momentum of her other arm to get to her neck. And Indara barely blocks this one and spins May around, asking,
"Who trained you?"
Yeah, the answer might be right in front of Indara's face, just hidden perfectly by May's braids, the spiral marking on her forehead, which we know from poster art and the character names released pre-season matches that of Mother Anastasia and her coven, which I assume we will meet in a future episode. May realizes that the only move she really has against Indara is to target someone else, which is the tactic Count Dooku uses when he's unable to defeat Yoda in Attack of the Clones. Indara leaps up the stairway to the upper level, and we are seeing some really cool wire work similar to the Matrix films, but also in Kill Bill, when the bride fights the crazy 88 and goes up the levels of the stairs there too. Actually, the show's creator once pitched it as Kill Bill meets Frozen, which previously made no sense to me, but now after watching it, I get it. Indara uses the Force to catch the fall of the throne woman, and then radios in this unidentified Force user, and then gets increasingly aggressive with May. But notice how when Indara has the opportunity to jab May, instead she grabs her arm and forces her to open up to her. Like even the combat is nurturing and protective of her combatant, but then ultimately Indara ends this round.
Yo, that's crazy. Such a good point too. Like everything about Force Fu, first and foremost, is amazing. I love me some Force Fu. I think it's a really good addition too. I think it was awesome when we saw Ezra do it in Ahsoka. We saw him do it kind of like in a baby way, and now we see it be able to be actually a full-fledged thing. And it's kind of funny because Ahsoka happens like way after this, and that's hilarious. So I'm really pumped to see what else they can accomplish in this, especially with like the witches and all of like that covenant stuff that's going on there too. That all seems insane.
One little cosmetic detail they added to Carrie-Anne Moss's face, these two little black dots to the right of her eye. It's like she uses these dots to disrupt people who try to look her in the eyes to maybe give her an edge in all tense encounters. Actually, in the trailer footage, the flashback on Indara from whatever the Brindog incident was, she only has one of those markings beside her eye. So I wonder if these dots could, for her, connote some type of experience level. But then Indara unmasks May.
You. What are you doing here?
Yeah, Indara reaches to move the braids, but May's like, I'm gonna show you my marking, my choice. And when the marking is revealed, you can hear a subtle female vocalization. I'm gonna say this was like a lullaby of one of May and Osha's mothers who died in that fire. After forcing Indara back, only now does Indara ignite her green lightsaber. Actually, in our Q&A with the creator, she was asked if the color green was a Matrix reference, and she said no, but Carrie-Anne Moss really does look natural in a green glow, doesn't she? Now, the pose that she strikes here is inspired by Iaido, as opposed to Kendo, and along with Western fencing, Kendo was a huge inspiration for the sword fighting in the original trilogy, but the Iaido approach is slower, more deliberate, and designed to quickly end a duel in just one strike. May thrusts her blade at the cook, forcing Indara to break her focus to try to stop it, giving May an in to sink her second blade in Indara's chest. Indara drops her hilt, and interestingly, May does not take the lightsaber. Indara's lightsaber is the same hilt that appears in that awesome poster for the series, with the hilt leaving a streak of blood, but May does not take it because the master she serves doesn't want her to use weapons at all. So yes, this is the last we see of Carrie-Anne Moss living, at least in this era. I assume we will see her in flashbacks to future episodes, but it's pretty insane to kill off who, in my opinion, might have been the biggest star of the series, reminding us of Scream and Psycho. It's a pretty bold move to open the series with. Now, May motions to kill the bar owner, but sees a child cowering by the leg and doesn't want to leave an orphan behind, likely because she too was an orphan left behind at some point. Either way, she's not all evil. We see the Acolyte logo with an O formed by two interlocking rings, one red, one blue, reflecting the two sisters of May and Osha. So
which I am super down for. Like, I think the logo is amazing. I think Star Wars has been eating with the logos for sure, because the logos have actually been doing a lot to kind of, I guess you can say, kind of complement what the series is going to be about overall.
The other sister, Osha, awakens.
It's not a big
now,
deal,
we know this
but
is
I like
a different
this. I
person
like
right
subtle
away
details.
because her hair, while also braided, is significantly shorter. We also notice it's a recurring thing on the show where the editing makes it seem like Osha is waking up from a dream where she would be seeing what her sister is doing. Now, the name Osha might be a nod to the term Ashla, which is the pseudonym that Ahsoka Tano uses when she's in exile, but Ashla is also the word for the Force in the Lasat language, and it was also the term used for the light side of the Force by ancient Force-sensitive beings on Tython. And because this is a Star Wars, there also has to be an awesome little droid. This one is Pip, and I love him. If you look closely, there are some faded stickers on him. Now, the Lucasfilm team gave me fresh versions of these decals without saying what they are. So this one, obviously a Loth cat, but the blue jellyfish-looking one is actually a blue version of the red sticker that's on Luke's training helmet in the 1977 film. Now, the checkerboard one with the writing, I'm less certain about. I was thinking maybe it's a pod racing sticker, or maybe even a swoop racing sticker from the Old Republic era. I did look into it, but this writing is not anything known to the Star Wars universe. But each of the letters are different characters. But if this one is a reference to Luke's helmet in A New Hope, this one could be a nod to Big Starklighter's checkerboard design helmet. And who knows, maybe the 9 letters spell out Dark Light. I don't know. So Osha works as a mech neck along with Philic on this Trade Federation freighter. She passes an early generation Gonk droid. And Philic says,
"It's a wild trip to Nar Shaddaa with the piloting crew."
Nar Shaddaa is a smuggler's moon used by the Hutts from their homeworld of Nal Hutta. Jabba the Hutt and his family are active at this point in history. So these two serve the Neimoidians, who later align with the Separatists during the Clone Wars. Osha and Philic spacewalk out to fix the shield generator, which is against Republic regulation to have sentient life forms do this. Remember, we see R2-D2 and the other astromech droids doing this kind of work in Phantom Menace. The Neimoidian says,
"Their grease grubbers are disposable. Our cargo is not."
Yeah, we never learned what this Trade Federation freighter is carrying, but Yord later says that this is the CorpSec region, which refers to the corporate sector, which is in the Outer Rim governed by the Corporate Sector Authority, a fiefdom where corporations are allowed to govern their own territory. A pressure gauge goes awry and a fire begins to burn using what oxygen in space? I don't know. But the fire takes Osha back to that traumatic memory where the closed captions reveals what people are saying in her head here. Yes, this is the memory of the fiery incident where both sisters assume the other died. A Jedi Vector starfighter flies past the freighter. Vectors are the small Jedi fighters that seat 1, maybe 2 occupants. They were actually created for the High Republic era. I love the Neimoidian response to this.
Jedi?
Now remember, Phantom Menace began with 2 Jedi arriving at a Trade Federation ship, and so too does this series. And we meet these 2 Jedi.
My name is Yord Fandar, Knight of the Jedi Order, and this is my Padawan, Tassiloa.
Yord is played by Charlie Barnett, who previously worked on Russian Doll with Leslie Headland, and Tassiloa is a Zygerian race. This is the first time we have seen a Zygerian in live action. They were first mentioned in a 1987 Star Wars source book, and were considered obscure EU creatures until Clone Wars, when they appear as part of the Slaves of the Republic story arc. arc in the Clone Wars comic series, which became 3 episodes of the animated Clone Wars, Kidnapped, Slaves of the Republic, and Escape from Kadavo. The Zygerians were known for a vast empire built upon a slave trade until the Jedi and the Republic went to war with them and outlawed it, but they openly revived their slave trade when they allied with the Separatists in the Clone Wars. Now, something weird happens with the audio mix here.
This is my Padawan, Loa. We are looking for a former Jedi by the name of Osha Anaseya.
Yeah, we are looking for a former Jedi was definitely ADR'd in after the fact. Maybe because however they originally described Osha was just like confusing and they wanted to clarify Osha's past with the Jedi Order. Once again, the High Republic robes worn by these characters are so pristine with white atop gold. And notice above and below their brown belts are these colored sashes that reflect what color their lightsabers are. This color coding applies specifically to Padawans, as in the case of Loa here, she must have a blue lightsaber, but in the case of knights and masters, the sash changes to white or other darker colors based on the occasion. Yord uses a bit of Jedi mind control to force the Nemoidian to stop lying, which feels a bit like problematic force confession to me. Osha finds Yord in a room and he sits up suddenly, fanning out his cape so that it doesn't crease. Later, we see him steaming his robe like a big nerd. He's so conscious about his robe's wrinkling, but part of that paranoia may be so that he could quick draw his lightsaber without his wrinkled robe snagging on anything, which we see happening here as he reaches for the lightsaber just as Osha's grabbing Pip. He's like a trigger-happy cop. So we learned that Osha left the Jedi Order 6 years prior, reminding us of Ahsoka at the end of Season 5 of Clone Wars and the Season 7 arc when she works blue-collar jobs for the Martez sisters. Remember that? We also learned that Osha joined the Order when she was 8 years old, which is old for the Jedi Order. They like to get them when they're like 2 or 3 years old. And we learned that she was in mourning at the time, which made things tough for her. Also, some parallels to Anakin Skywalker, of course, who joined the Jedi Order when he was 9 years old and had enough memories of a loving mother whom he would miss, and then later in Attack of the Clones, he entered a state of mourning. We also learned that Master Indara was the Jedi who advised the Council to discontinue her training, but in Osha's mind, she left the Order voluntarily. But for Yord, that's enough of a motive. And then he brings in the witness, the barkeep, to identify her. Now, there's a bit of a logic issue here. If Vector ships carry only 2 Jedi maximum, how did the barkeep get here? Did he arrive with that prisoner transport ship? And then when they leave, since he wouldn't be able to fit in the Vector and was not on the prisoner transport ship, did he just stay with the Nemoidians? Why does he need to be here at all? I just think the fact that they dragged him here is very, very funny. Like, who's babysitting his kid? On to Coruscant. We see Coruscant during the High Republic era, and it looks awesome. When you compare this shot of the Jedi Temple with any other shot of the Jedi Temple from the prequel era, the cityscape around the temple is now 100 years prior, much lower, less developed, and you can actually see visible trees. Coruscant is less of a towering metropolis back at this point in history, and I love that attention to detail. We meet Master Sol, Li Zhongjae, who you might know from Squid Game. In Latin, the word Sol, S-O-L, translates to sun, and his opening words embody the power of clarity.
Close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. We must not trust them.
Many of the characters in this series make snap judgments based on appearances while missing a deeper truth about them. I really appreciate the mix of humans and non-human species reflected in this room. This first kid is a Tarsunt from the planet Tarsunt. Other Tarsunts we know of in Star Wars include Senator Calandris in the Galactic Republic from the Obi-Wan and Anakin comics, and then Landiver Velicham from the New Republic, who we saw in Force Awakens when Starkiller Base wiped out Hosnian Prime. Master Sol describes the Force as a vast ocean, echoing the water imagery we saw in Luke's training of Rey in The Last Jedi. The younglings describe the Force.
Balance.
Good.
Life.
Enter a prompt here.
If a girl calls me a snack, how do I reply?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Excellent.
I see fire. It grows larger. It consumes anything that tries to stop it.
Uh-oh. Sol says that all forces of nature embody different aspects of the Force, but there's definitely a look of worry on his face. I interpret this as this youngling sensing in Master Sol the fire that haunts him, and how, while pursuing a noble aim of spreading the Jedi way to children, to do that would mean burning the bridges those kids have to their families. Sol's fear is that the Jedi are another kind of destructive force, and while the sun, Sol, can bring warmth and clarity, it's also a burning ball of fire. Master Vernestra Rowe, played by Rebecca Henderson, tells Sol about Osha's arrest. Now, she's a Mirialan race, which is the same race as Luminara Unduli and Barriss Offee. The book Fallen Star shows Vern in her youth when she carried a lightsaber that she modified into a light whip, and this series will later show that whip in action. On the prisoner transport, this convict is latched with a Dybbuk, which is a parasitic creature that subdues criminals with terrifying visions, reminding me of the facehugger from Alien, and Leslie Headland did confirm that there is going to be like an Alien-themed episode coming up, but the term term Dybbuk comes from Jewish mythology. It's a malicious possessing spirit from the soul of a dead person. Its name coming from the Hebrew of dabak, which means to adhere or cling. You may have heard of the urban legend of the Dybbuk box. Osha asks how they're gonna stage an escape if they are currently traveling through hyperspace, saying that taking escape pods could kill them, perhaps recalling the history of the great hyperspace disaster in the Legacy run in 232 BBY. A third convict has these cybernetic implants. Kind of reminds me of the cyborg Lobot from The Empire Strikes Back, or even the concept of the decraniated who showed up in Rogue One and Solo. This guy hacks into the droid pilots, and I love how these guys just practically transform back into chairs.
I love
and they time that practical transition with the light outside of the spacecraft to just synchronize this moment of the transport exiting hyperspace. And also, does that mean that these droids are just constantly having to deal with wardens sitting on them and farting into them? Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Summer's almost here, but if you're feeling overwhelmed by the
what did he say?
So the others break free, leaving Osha behind, and there is this key moment where she reaches out to try to force pull Pip, but she fails. And thank God she fails, because she even is force sensitive. She should be able to pull it, but she's just that removed from the Jedi Order that she's not as sensitive anymore, that she's lost some of these abilities. And it's just such a nice change of pace, because it seems like in Star Wars these days, everyone is force sensitive. And this is just further proof that Osha could not have been the sister to kill Master Indara. But she's able to get out, and she has the option to save herself, but mainly turns back to save this prisoner. This first episode is very much inspired by the amazing 1993 film The Fugitive, and this beat parallels the falsely accused Dr. Richard Kimball rushing to get out of the prisoner bus before the train crashes into them, but heroically deciding to save the injured guard despite everyone else leaving him to die. And Osha's frozen crash site on Karlak echoes the cold wilderness that Kimball has to flee through. We meet Master Soul's new Padawan, Jackie Lawn, played by Daphne Keane, X-23, Laura from Logan. She and Soul discuss whether keeping images of old relationships amounts to toxic sentimentality, or whether it's just meditating on the past to avoid repeating mistakes. Either way, it's another example of the Jedi tradition of severing all family ties and emotional relationships really robs them of emotional context in which to make good decisions. And it is wild to me that the Jedi Temple in this era has a detainment level. Like it's a school with prison cells on the ground floor. What does that say about them right now? Like we don't know if these prisoners specifically violated like Jedi laws or anything like that. They're just happy to keep prisoners in their school. Soul asks to bring Osha in himself, and Vern says to be discreet. Seems like her primary concern is a political scandal, and maybe that's why they substituted in this character for Yoda as like the temple authority figure on the show. Like Lucasfilm maybe just didn't want to muddy Yoda's backstory in this era with some political flop sweat to just not change any of the context that he enters Phantom Menace with. As Osha explores the crash site, I love this shot. It's a solid jump scare, and what's creepiest is that they not only timed this young May to jump into the frame quickly, they somehow pulled it off without leaving any footprints in the snow. Similarly, when Osha later chases young May through the snow, no footprints. In this vision, May transports Osha from the ice of Karlak to the fire of Brendok and leads her on this chase to what I assume was their childhood home. And notice there are two bunks, each with parallel plush balls. And then she chants this creepy rhyme. You're with me, I'm with you. Always one, but born as two. As above sits the stars, and below lies the sea.
I give you you.
And you give me me.
Yeah, I let them deliver the last line of it because semantically, only one sister is giving the other herself. Like, it's possible that they both chanted this simultaneously when they were girls, but when they repeat it here, May is the one saying, I give you you, and Osha is saying, and you give me me. Only May is giving Osha Osha. Osha is not giving May May. I'm sorry if this confuses you. I just bring it up because
I give you you. And you give me me. No, they're both.
is giving you and Osha, but when they repeat it here, May is the one saying, I give you you, and Osha is saying, and you give me me. Only May is giving Osha Osha. Osha is not giving May May. I'm sorry if this confuses you. I just bring it up because it implies that May, as a dark side practitioner of the two sisters, is offering the presumably weaker sister a chance to discover her true inner power. Actually, in our roundtable discussion, Leslie Headland talked a lot about the Gemini zodiac sign represented by the twins, Castor and Pollux. It also came up in the room that Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy is not only a twin, but being born on June 5th, she and her twin and Sister Connie are Geminis. That's their zodiac sign. So I don't know, this just might be a concept that Leslie and Kathleen talked a lot about when they were developing the show. This series could identify Osha and May as a Force dyad. This concept was established in The Rise of Skywalker. It refers to a cosmic connection between two Force-sensitive individuals in which together they can transcend their physical beings and access abilities like Force.
I said in the watch party that they are a Force dyad. I said it off rip. Off rip, I said that. Just saying.
A lot about when they were, that's their zodiac sign. So I don't know, this just might be a concept that Leslie and Kathleen talked a lot about when they were developing the show. This series could identify Osha and May as a Force dyad. This concept was established in The Rise of Skywalker. It refers to a cosmic connection between two Force-sensitive individuals in which together they can transcend their physical beings and access abilities like Force healing, communication across great distances, and instantly teleporting objects to each other. Palpatine wants both Rey and Kylo because they're Force dyads. My theory is that this mystery Sith wants May and Osha for the same reason, and that those 4 Jedi might have actually separated these sisters for that reason as well, because together they were just too powerful to contain and could have been exploited by some nefarious entities out there. But in that separation, they ended up making a way bigger mess that they all carry the guilt of. But Osha wakes up from this vision back in the crashed ship, suggesting that everything she saw from the moment she previously woke up and looked out at Karlak was part of that vision. It's pretty unnerving to realize that you're waking up within a dream was actually part of that dream. It kind of makes you paranoid that in this moment you could still be asleep. Meanwhile, on the ship with Sol, Jecki, and Yord, a production design detail I really appreciate is how all the tech aboard these ships has rounded edges. We see pale white and seafoam and red walls, these control panels with these big old knobs on them. In 1977, George Lucas and his team aimed for a lived-in, dirty, greasy sci-fi look, reflecting the themes prevalent in America in the 1970s. Dysfunction, industrial pollution, economic depression. But this series goes back a decade or two before that. It takes design influences from what we call the retro-futurist aesthetic, that before it was retro was just what was considered sci-fi art in the 1950s and 1960s. This is when artists still had a sunnier view of the future. It's actually what the Disney Imagineers used to design Tomorrowland. So it's just like a nice way to distinguish this older era from what we know most famously as Star Wars. It also predates the clean green screen opulence of the prequel trilogy. But Sol reveals to the others that Osha did have a twin.
I didn't know Osha was a twin.
It's not in her file.
Notice how Sol shifts his eyes like he didn't intend to say this out loud. We're getting a sense of like how messy this conspiracy was, how rushed the cover-up was. Sol, Yord, and Jecki follow the trail of Osha through the narrow cave that leads to a cliff, and yes, we get another fugitive reference here. The iconic moment when Tommy Lee Jones chases Harrison Ford in the drainage tunnel and the dam.
I didn't do it!
I didn't kill my wife! I don't care!
Similarly, Sol implicitly knows that Osha is innocent and doesn't cuff her when he saves her, just like Tommy Lee Jones takes off Harrison Ford's cuffs in the final scene of The Fugitive. Now, Yord's lightsaber is yellow, a color not commonly seen throughout Star Wars. It was used mostly for Temple Guardians in flashbacks and Rebels, and increasingly characters like Asajj Ventress and Bad Batch, Rey at the end of Rise of Skywalker. Really, to reflect the variety of the High Republic era, this series is widening the spectrum of lightsaber colors. The final scene of this episode takes us to this rocky shoreline. May's mystery Sith says in a distorted voice under a mask, "The Jedi live in a dream they believe everyone shares. If you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail. Steel or laser are no threat to them." And then he finishes with this awesome line.
But an acolyte.
I'm a bee, and I bumbled my way into your car. Buzz.
An acolyte.
To them, and then he finishes with this awesome line.
But an acolyte. An acolyte kills without a weapon. An acolyte kills the dream.
And then the Sith ignites a red lightsaber, framed perfectly reflected in the title pool below. The Sith rule of two embodied. Always two there are, a master and an apprentice. Or, from the girl's poem, as above sits the stars, below lies the sea. Above sits the stars, a star, a sun, Sol, sitting doing nothing, and then below, lying. Now, I wondered if this planet could be Ach 2 from The Last Jedi, with the Prime Jedi Temple above and then the Sith cave beneath. But this rock formation and the water beyond them looks like it might be the same rock that's off the coast of Olega in the opening shot of episode 2. So I think they might just be on Olega here. But this Sith seems to be using May to strike against the Jedi to avoid exposing the ongoing survival of the Sith. Though, trailer footage does suggest future episodes will feature this guy fighting multiple other Jedi on Kofar. No actor is credited to this voice in the closing credits, though So in the additional voices section, Sam Witwer appears again, but he and all these other names appear in the additional voices for all live-action Lucasfilm titles, including Ahsoka and The Mandalorian. And I think it might just be like boilerplate credits that they always put in because their voices are so prominently featured throughout the Lucasfilm audio asset library. So who is this person? Only 2 Sith are alive at a time during this period of history. There could be other future recruits that are like on their way to becoming Sith, but there's always just a master and an apprentice. This is the apprentice, I presume. Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious's master, was Darth Plagueis. Darth Plagueis' master was Darth Tenebrous. Based on what we know from lore and the general timeline based on, you know, the average lifespan of characters, this would be Tenebrous before he would have found Plagueis, but I actually think this show is going to condense the timeline and reveal this as Plagueis. And for May to be the first Acolyte that Plagueis tried to recruit when he was beginning his plot to overthrow Tenebrous, years before he would move on and find the young Sheev Palpatine from Naboo. So yes, I'm theorizing that we are looking at Darth Plagueis the Wise.
That would
the story
be
Palpatine
super
told Anakin in the Opera House in Revenge of the Sith, who got close to conquering death itself and who was killed in his sleep by Palpatine, aka Sidious, in 35 BBY. Plagueis might be seeking a dyad in the Force, which would link to Palpatine seeking a dyad in The Rise of Skywalker to achieve the same kind of immortality. Just hearing the name Plagueis would hit the hardest for fans of Revenge of the Sith, and for what it's worth, Amanda Stenberg said that her favorite.
That's hella sad, bro. What? Yo. Oh, man. Oh, this is super sad, yo. It says 2 days ago on June 8th, my husband Ben Potter passed away in an unfortunate accident. To many of you, he was comic historian, voicing stories from across multiple different mediums. To his loved ones, he was one of the best and most supportive individuals anyone could ask for. As a husband, a son, a brother, a friend, or even just a stranger, Ben was loving and genuine. He was someone who would listen and make time for his loved ones. He would do his best to make everyone laugh and make sure they were okay. He was our rock, and he reassured his loved ones whenever they needed it. He was my world, and while he is gone, I don't want the good things he's done to be for nothing. Across his family and team, we ask for you to respect our privacy as we grieve this loss. His channel was one of the greatest accomplishments, and while we need our time to mourn him, I know he wouldn't want it to end like this. Ben spent over 10 years spreading his love and appreciation for his hobbies. It was through his love and exciting stories and well-written characters that got him started on YouTube. We want to keep that going to honor him by continuing to tell you great stories by great people, as well as to keep the memory of our very own superhero alive. I know he meant a lot to many of you, but I don't know if you'll ever know just how much you meant to him. Damn, that's hella sad, bro. Sad day in YouTube history indeed, bro. R.I.P. to the comic historian Ben Potter, bro. That's hella sad. That's hella sad. Damn. That's crazy, bro. What? Shit is crazy, bro. People be, man, that's hella sad, bro. R.I.P. to the comic historian, for real, bro. Damn. That's hella sad, bro. Hope y'all, man. That's how, man. I'm sorry you feel. I'm so sad. Yo, the comic historian. I've watched so many of his videos. It's just, damn. That's crazy. Moment of silence for that man, for real, for real. That's hella sad, man. R.I.P. to the comic historian, yo. Oh, yo, what's up with it, McT? How you doing, MCT? I hope you're having a good Monday, yo. Mike, I hope you're having as good of a Monday as you can, man. Hope everybody's having as good of a day as they can. Definitely R.I.P. to the comic historian, bro. That's hella sad. Damn, the comic historian just, that's wild. What's going on this year, man? Damn.
Favorite Star Wars movie was Revenge of the Sith, and I'm just wondering if she had the Opera House scene on her mind because it factored so heavily into what gets established on this show. The recent Awake promo gives us our best look yet at the Sith's helmet, and reflected in the red glow of the saber.
Whoa. Whoa. That helmet is crazy. Don't know if you ever watched him, but he was so awesome. Yeah, I've watched him before, bro. For real. That's insane. Again, what's up with the MCT? I hope you're having a good one, bro. Oh, you liking the Acolyte so far? Yeah, let me know how you guys are liking the Acolyte if you're in here, man. I'm liking it pretty much. I'm liking it, man. I'm excited to see where they go from here. Super sad, bro. Super sad. Super sad.
Its curvature looks like a wide grinning mouth and sharp fangs. So currently I'm at 60% it's Plagueis, 10% it's Tenebris, and 30% someone else. A new Sith character whose name we've never heard, who's like a current apprentice to either Tenebris or Plagueis, and someone who won't last in that position for that long. I can confirm that Leslie Headland told us in the roundtable that this series will show us more than one Sith. She did confirm multiple Sith. She said Sith characters. And I have an even wilder, crazy, really out there reach theory for who could be under the mask that I'll get to in a little bit. But let's move on to episode 2. On Olega, May again pays off a local to help her get access to a Jedi, and this girl throws produce at the Jedi Temple's gatekeeper droid. This droid is a double-irised TT-8L-Y7 gatekeeper droid, like the single-irised one that we saw at Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. I just like a detail that 100 years from now, there's just gonna be one, but now there are two, and I guess over that century, droid models just didn't need two bulbs. May finds Master Torben, played by Dean Charles Chapman, who's Tommen Baratheon from Game of Thrones, floating in this meditative trance. I appreciate the practical effect of using his drop-down cape to mask whatever was holding him up, practically for the scene. Jedi. I just like a detail that 100 years from now, there's just gonna be one, but now there are two, and I guess over that century, droid models just didn't need two bulbs. May finds Master Torben, played by Dean Charles Chapman, who's Tommen Baratheon from Game of Thrones, floating in this meditative trance. I appreciate the practical effect of using his drop-down cape to mask whatever was holding him up, practically for the scene. Torben's face is viciously scarred, which I presume came from that Jedi cover-up incident on Brendok. But otherwise, the casting of such a young actor in this part led to some pretty awkward-looking age makeup and facial hair. I don't know why they cast an actor in his early 20s to play the older version of himself. But May is unable to strike Torben with her fists or her blades due to this force barrier that he projects. She slips up to the raptors silently, like in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon when Jen hides under the mask to steal the Green Destiny sword at night. Osha helps Jecki repolarize the power couplings. We see that Osha has this tattoo.
It's definitely someone else.
Also gave me one of these.
Someone random,
like,
Joe?
me, but they gave me one that I can put on if I want. But Osha later says that she got this during a night partying in Corpsec. Visually, it's kind of a Gemini symbol, right? Now, there's this little moment when Osha says that she's flexible, and Jecki lets out a smile, but then wipes it away when Soul walks in, like she doesn't want him to see her forming this bond after she scolded him for looking at Osha's hollow.
Sure I know
Are we seeing a budding
is,
chemistry between Osha and Jecki? Because there was also Jecki's very unimpressed reaction to seeing Yord shirtless. I don't know. Could be nothing. But then May meets with her conspirator named Chimere, played by Manny Jacinto from The Good Place. Chimere has taken over the local apothecary, and we learn May's Sith Master needs at least one of her 4 kills to be without weapons. So for May's motive, this is really a Kill Bill scenario, where she's seeking revenge against names on a list. But the Sith doesn't have as personal a grudge. He's really just exploiting that revenge drive and promising that if one of those can be without a weapon, she will have proven herself to him. We'll see if he ends up keeping that promise to her, though. But Chimere's role in this whole plot is just a bit more curious.
The Jedi justify their galactic
What website is that?
in the name of peace.
Are you talking about the YouTube channel?
Watch live and local news on a variety of networks.
Rocks, bro. They're an entire conglomerate of nerds, yo. They got like nerd writers that are going through and breaking shit down, as well as Eric, yo, like just a bunch of nerds doing nerd stuff and breaking stuff down and talking about it, and it's freaking awesome. Shout out to
a bit more curious.
The Jedi justify their galactic
What if the Sith Lord is Keanu Reeves? Ever since last year, he was rumored to appear in the show.
Whoa, so peace is a lie are the opening words
interesting.
of the Sith Code. The Sith Code first appeared as just a fragment in the Clone Wars Altar of Mortis episode, but later was presented in its full form in the Guardians of the Whills Jr. novel. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall set me free. But the Sith are supposed to be living in secret, just 2 at a time. I wouldn't imagine
that is a bad ass, bruh. That's fire. Are you kidding me? That's fire. That is a fire thing to go by as a Sith. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall free me. That is heat. That is heat. And what did he say that was in?
Altar of Mortis, opening words of the Sith Code. The Sith Code first appeared as just a fragment in the Clone Wars Altar of Mortis episode, but later was presented in its full form in the Guardians of the Whills Jr. novel. Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall set me free. But the Sith are supposed to be living in secret, just 2 at a time. I wouldn't imagine uninitiated folks still in their trial phase like May, and certainly not her goofy chemist buddy Chimere, would know this mantra and just go around quoting it so casually. But I suppose while the Sith themselves were thought to be extinct, their beliefs might have lived on and spread to all anti-Jedi corners of society, and Chimere might just be a free thinker that May met along the way. May supplies him with bunta, a poisonous plant used in hunting that apparently grows only on her and Osha's home planet of Brendok. This is a bit of poetic justice in using a plant native to the scene of the Jedi crime. Sol says that he wanted to save both girls, and we learned that he tried to teach Osha to accept what she had lost many times.
And I wasn't a very good student.
Perhaps I wasn't a very good teacher.
Yeah, Sol probably struggled to teach this to Osha because he had these buried demons about what happened. May reconfronts Master Torben.
I know why you took the Barash vow. You thought this life would give you the peace you seek.
Ah, the Barash vow. That's an oath taken by Jedi who refrained from all Jedi Order functions as a form of penitence to atone and recenter themselves on the Force. It was named after Jedi Master Barash Sylvain and was first mentioned in the High Republic The Blade comic series when the vow was taken by the Jedi Knight Des Raiden. May offers him the poison vial to absolve him of what he did. I see a parallel with Torben and the character Bud in Kill Bill. He was the one killer on the bride's list who seemed to accept that they deserved what was coming to them.
That woman deserves her revenge. We deserve to die.
Torben similarly accepts this poison.
We thought we were doing the right thing.
It's another instance of the series depicting Jedi as having doubts in their own authority. Perhaps that Mystery Sith's true plot could be to purge the only Jedi right now who have doubts within the Jedi Order, so that the only Jedi who survive to the future generations, like the prequel era, are ones with 100% blindness to any of their own shortcomings and vulnerabilities. As the Jedi keep an eye out on the street, we see Chimere tossing his food wrapper in a woman's grocery basket, which just personally reminds me of Rob Lowe throwing a milk carton in the baby stroller in Tommy Boy. Jackie proposes to use Osha to pose as her twin sister May to get information from Chimere, a plotline that we see in like every Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen movie, Sister episode, or The Parent Trap. Because yes, this is kind of a Parent Trap situation if each of the Lindsay Lohans thought the other one was actually dead from a fire. Now, I might be wrong here, but it seems like a lot of the dialogue that verbally identifies Osha as a quote-unquote former Jedi just seems to come up in shots when characters' faces are off camera. Like, take a look.
Osha knows how to use one of these. She used to be a Jedi. Are you ready?
Now, we totally do see moments with Sol and Vern and Yord where they're talking about Osha's past with the Order, sure, but I wonder if earlier drafts might have had some slightly different verbiage, like maybe she's given some other term of a Jedi designation that's not like a full Jedi yet, like maybe they called her Acolyte, and then the Jedi phased out that designation after Osha left the Order, but then the people making the show watched that back and they're like, nah, that might just be a bit confusing, and then they maybe re-edited the scenes to just have them say that she was a former Jedi and left it at that. But also, Lee Jung-jae learned English for this role, and that is super impressive. And it might have just been retakes as he was getting more and more confident with his lines.
Wait,
Chimere
what? Bro learned English for this role? That's insane. I would have never knew that.
Jedi and left it at that. But also, Lee Jung-jae learned English for this role, and that is super impressive. And it might have just been retakes as he was
the Sith don't believe in the Force. The Sith do believe in the Force. They use the Force. Yeah, they believe in the Force. They just believe in utilizing the Force in a different way than the Jedi believe in utilizing it. Like, even if we go back to, you know what I mean, that like, not the prayer, but the saying that they had, right? Like that, like, they believe being able to do these things through Force, through power, like to gain power through anger and passion, while the Jedi believe to do it with peace, and that's why the Sith mantra begins with peace is a lie, because they believe in basically the exact opposite.
Getting more and more confident with his lines. Chimera sees through Osha's charade, and the Jedi swarm in.
They believe
Yord
in utilizing
again
the
immediately
Force just in the negative way, not the positive way.
draws his lightsaber, but really it's just because he doesn't trust Osha to be the only one holding a weapon. During the stakeout, Yord says,
My favorite
I have a bad
Jedi is
feeling about this.
the classic
favorite
Star
Jedi
Wars
is
line.
Mace and
It's actually
Sith
been
is
a
Maul.
long
Hey,
time
I
since
dig
we've heard
that,
a character
bro.
say this in live action. It never comes up in any.
Hey, what's up with Amari Sue? How you doing? What's up, girl? Welcome in. Everybody say hi, Amari Sue. Welcome to the chat. I hope you're having a good night. What you doing awake? What's going on? Okay, that's interesting.
He was getting more and more confident with his lines. Chimera sees through Osha's charade, and the Jedi swarm in. Yord, again, immediately draws his lightsaber, but really it's just because he doesn't trust Osha to be the only one holding a weapon. During the stakeout, Yord says,
I have a bad feeling about this.
the classic Star Wars line. It's actually been a long time since we've heard a character say this in live action. It never comes up in any episode of The Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett or in Andor. We just get a half nod to it in Ahsoka Episode 4 when Jason Syndulla says,
I've got a bad feeling.
the last time we heard the full version of the line was from Lando in The Rise of Skywalker all the way back in 2019.
I got a bad feeling about this.
And for good measure, Yord also throws in a nod to Admiral Akbar.
What if this guy's lying? What if this is a trap?
So Sol confronts May. And with Indara and Torben, remember, May ordered them to both attack her with all their might, but she doesn't get to do this for Sol. She's on the defensive now. So she flings her blade as a warning shot, but her kick is stopped midair inches before his face, showing that Sol let her get this close just to see if she would pull her punches, and she didn't. And I love how May uses this force hold as a pivot point to twist through the air using the reverse force of his push, flinging her body up into a roll. Meanwhile, Sol just steps back to evade her
Force
blows. He
Fu
observes,
is 10 out of 10. Not gonna lie to you.
It's interesting that Sol senses that to kill without a weapon must mean that there's
Gonna have
some
to
kind
go
of
back and
culty
watch the
reason why.
beginning?
He might be
Yeah, I feel
familiar
that,
with this
Marcy.
rite of passage required for
Yeah, this
Sith
was a good one.
indoctrination.
They
So
did
here's
a
my
really
hot
good
take
job. We're at
about
the
who
end
could
of it,
really be
too.
under the mask. Could the mystery Sith, Darth Plagueis or Darth Tenebris, be played by Li Jung-jae? Either a double identity of Master Sol, maybe Sol himself, or maybe he has a twin named something like Lune or Lun, which would be a derivative of the Latin word for moon, Luna. That could be why he's so forgiving of Gemini twins, and why historically after this conflict with the Sith would remain buried with him by the time we get to the prequel era. I don't know, it's a pretty soap opera-y theory, but I just wanted to put it out there. But as with Indara,
Super soap opera-y, and if we know anything about Star Wars, it is a soap opera. It's a space opera, baby. That's why it's hilarious to ever hear people complain about something that is a space opera. That's inherently supposed to be overly dramatic and a little bit corny, but still awesome as hell nonetheless.
May always reaches for the lightsaber, and if she's not going to kill someone with a weapon, I wonder, why does she try to grab it from them? I think it might be
I think we talked about this in the watch party as well, that it might be a possibility that she has to steal a lightsaber from a Jedi in order to bleed that crystal so she can get her own Sith crystal for her Jedi, her dark side lightsaber, for her red lightsaber. Shit. In order to bleed the lightsaber to make it red so she can have her thing. You know what I mean? I think that would be
a way of trying to provide a receipt.
Super awesome, by the way, that this is the lightsaber that we see in the poster. That's insane.
To her master, that this lightsaber was never actually ignited during the duel and weapons were not used. Much of Sol's maneuvers around May really just seem to be him observing her, so that when he pushes her away, he turns his back to her unworried. And we're wondering, why did he turn his back to someone he's fighting? But then you realize it's because he has taken all of her daggers. But also, in a way, he's removed her temptation to use a weapon to kill. If she's gonna do it, she has to do it the right way. Sol and Yord reveal to May that Osha is still alive. alive. So both sisters thought the
Hi,
other was
Master
dead. Those
Sue.
4 Jedi must have
Master Sue is
lied, let
crazy.
each sister believe the other had died, and scrubbed
It's only
May from the
10:30?
reports.
Oh,
If Mother
okay.
Anastasia is one of their moms, was it just the other mom that died in the fire? May escapes by creating an explosion of sand that blows them back and blinds them.
Awesome.
Actually, trailer footage shows an even more powerful version of this used on several Jedi by the Sith in that heavily wooded area on Kofar. Osha gets May in her sights, and the two sisters connect, but Osha shoots past her to let her escape. Kind of like in Point Break. Roll the clip. Yes, I think we are obligated to watch every Harrison Ford movie and Keanu Reeves movie to appreciate the show. Soul is called back to convene with the small council at the temple, which is going to be fun because, you know, among the Jedi at the temple include Yoda, Yarael Poof, Oppo Rancisis, and I think Plo Koon is around. Meanwhile, May reconnects with Kyner, so that
That's
they
why
head
I'm like,
to
bro,
the
what's
planet
gonna
Kofar.
happen?
And that's where we end this
Are
episode
we gonna
with
see
2
all of
scavengers
those?
approaching.
Shout out to them speaking Huttese.
The language
yo.
they're speaking is Huttese. That's the language of the Huts, spoken on Tatooine and Nar
I
Shaddaa and Nal
love
Hutta,
it.
anywhere the Huts operate, meaning
Have
that
they
these
referenced
two are part of the Huts
Speed yet?
criminal
No, they haven't
operation.
referenced
But then
Speed,
Kelnaka
Marcy.
comes home
That would
and
be
Force
crazy
pulls the
twist,
blaster
Soul
and
having
snaps
a
it and
twin
scares them
brother
off.
who was a
Kelnaka
Sith
is the
Lord.
4th
I think
Jedi
that would
Master
be
of the bunch, a
amazing. I
Wookiee
would
played
love
by
that.
Jonas Suotamo, who played Chewbacca in Solo: A Star Wars Story. So yeah,
Oh,
I
nice.
am really enjoying The Acolyte. Huge thanks to the Lucasfilm team for
Acolyte
letting
is
me discuss
fire.
this show with Leslie Headland. I asked Leslie if the secret Jedi texts from The Last Jedi would show up as temple textbooks in this show, and she said nope. But I also asked Leslie which episode of the season would be the craziest one everyone would be talking about, and she said episode 5. It was just awesome to geek out over Star Wars and the state of the fandom with a bunch
Episode
of
5
appreciators
is
of the
the
franchise.
crazy
I also
one.
got to meet Dave Filoni, even though he walked
Holy
in
shit!
right as I was introducing myself, and I feel like he did that on purpose because I, you know, have knocked him for making the New Republic too implausibly stupid just so he could justify the rise of the First Order. Or he has no idea who I am, which is more likely. But I'm just so grateful to everyone I met that week for letting me be among the first to screen the first episode of The Acolyte, to have the chance to tour the Lucasfilm campus in Burbank, to meet a bunch of awesome people, and then to attend the premiere event in Hollywood. I have not seen episodes 3 or 4 or any of the rest of the season yet, so any theories I pitched in this video are completely in the blind. I'm excited
Nice.
because this show has the potential to massacre all of its characters in order to keep the Sith secret, and I kind of hope that's how it ends. 'Cause
That
we got the
would
great hyperspace
be
disaster, we got the destruction of
freaking
Starlight Beacon, but it's
amazing.
the third tragedy that ends the High Republic era, the curse of Brenda.
Oh.
Comment down below with your
Oh my god, imagine that. Imagine if we ended this season with all of the characters dying, bro. That would be honestly incredible. That would be incredible. That would be the best way possible to end it. Just everyone slowly getting taken out by the Sith. And then in the end, it's and then at the very end, we have our Darth Sidious type character that would probably be Plagueis. Or Plagueis' master that I can't remember. Bro said his name. But I can't remember Darth Plagueis' master's name. Darth Plagueis master. Oh, Tenebrous. Yeah, Darth Tenebrous, yo. So if it's Darth Tenebrous and then the person under the mask is Plagueis, that would be dope because then you have like the master apprentice thing going, and then it would be cool as hell to see freaking Tenebrous come through and murder May at the end the same way that Palpatine came through and took out Darth Maul when Dooku was trying to have him be his apprentice, you know what I mean, in Clone Wars. So that would be amazing. I would love something like that. Same with Ventress, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, bruh, Palpatine was not having any of that. He was like, bruh, what? Nah. I'll murder you all. Darth Sidious, if you will. I'm so down for that. I have a prediction. We're going to hear the prophecy of the one who will bring balance to the Force be delivered for the first time, possibly by witches. Ooh, I would really like that, Marisu. I'm not going to lie. I would really like that, and I would really like if we actually get more context on whatever the hell our boy Balin is doing at the end of Ahsoka, right? Because he's clearly doing something along the lines with that Force stuff too. So maybe they can wrap like what you're saying into what I'm saying as well, and then kind of give that to the witches as being something or whatever, and then the Jedi know that, and that's the thing that and that's the thing that Dooku, we saw him delete out of, or whatever, that's the stuff that we see him like take over or find out later on, is because it's like, oh shit. Or the other dude that ended up making the clone army or whatever. Like, I don't know, something crazy. Like maybe this is where the 200-year plan starts for Palpatine. I don't know. I'm kind of just shooting spaghetti at the wall, but I really would like to see something crazy like that happen, just so we can kind of tap back into the canon without having to tap in completely back in with the Skywalker saga, because they did kind of make a note to say that this isn't part of the Skywalker saga. But if we have something like a prophecy or something like that kind of be said, that would be dope. Or even just kind of stumbled upon in the midst of all this other stuff that's going on. Or maybe we even see the fact, or we see like May, whoever the Sith Master is thinking that May and Osha are the chosen, or like May is the chosen one, or Osha is the chosen one. You know what I mean? Or something crazy like that, when really it was Anakin, because they do have very similar a very similar past. There we go. I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of directions that they can go. And I'm hyped for every direction that they could possibly go. All right, I'm going to go run to the restroom real quick. And then we will get into our next review or breakdown or whatever the case may be that we're going to be reacting and checking out. So let me know all of your thoughts, theories, and opinions for the Acolyte below, and we'll get into it right after these messages.
6 nations divided, how the gods envisioned the lands of Gafora, where nations must praise their gods individually. Inguvu, the god of power, Altira, the goddess of reality, Akasha, the goddess of space, Akaili, the goddess of mind, Nafasi, the god of time, Isarin, the god of soul. Each god bestowed their name and universal property to their nation through the blood of their land. Diligent praise to these gods, along with the blood of the land, allows the inhabitants of Gafora to wield the universal property of their god. These inhabitants are called gifts. It is forbidden for these nations to fraternize with one another. Gifts, the lands of Gafora.
Look at that. I'm back in the nick of time. And that is right. I hope you guys are ready to check out my book or hear about my book, because I will be going over it. I believe the last week of June. I'm going to be reading the first 5 chapters of my alpha copy live here on the YouTube channel. And then, of course, talking about it afterwards and nerding out and stuff like that. If anybody would like an alpha reader copy, you can definitely join the gifts cord at your earliest convenience. Let me see where. Yeah, you can join the gifts cord at your earliest convenience, and we're gonna be going crazy with it. Because I'm really, I really rock. I think everybody is gonna have a good time with it, and I'm gonna love hearing everyone's like ideas and stuff like that too. And it's gonna give everyone that tunes in an opportunity to kind of put their own input in, and possibly also get to kind of get a little 2 cents in with the world that's being constructed, or should I say that I am constructing. So yeah, be ready for that to happen. And let's get into the next one coming from Star Wars Explained.
The Acolyte is here, the very first live-action Star Wars story to take place outside of the Skywalker saga. I have been hyped for this series ever since it was announced. So, did it live up? I say so far so good. These first 2 episodes remind me of Andor a bit, in the sense that we have a lot of characters and situations to introduce. I was definitely into Andor after the 3-episode premiere, but it was the latter half where I felt like the show got amazing. I think The Acolyte gets off to a faster start than Andor. I like the main cast of characters. I'm absolutely intrigued by the mysteries they've established. I love seeing the High Republic era on screen. I also think it's striking a great balance between the pulpy weirdness of Star Wars with the gravity of a murder mystery. There's a lot I like so far, but I'm not ready to call it my favorite Star Wars series yet. With my basic reaction out of the way, let's dive into these episodes scene by scene. I'm glad everything begins with a few sentences to set the stage, similar to Solo: A Star Wars Story. The more casual audience needs to understand that this is set an entire century before the prequel films, and this is an easy and Star Warsy way to accomplish that. But even for a non-casual, there is information to learn. I was interested seeing that a powerful few are learning to use the Force in secret. I'm sure the 2 Sith Lords are out there somewhere, and the trailers suggest we will be seeing at least one of them, but the Sith seem to have agents like May running around messing with the Jedi. On the planet Ueda, we see her asking a village, "Where is your Jedi?" The High Republic era, when this series takes place, is a time when the Jedi were more spread throughout the galaxy, living in outposts. I assume Indara has been stationed there as the local Jedi, protecting and serving the planet. She even seems to be hanging out with a bunch of bar patrons, which we just didn't see very often in the Clone Wars. And those people know enough about her to laugh at May's request to fight. These are a bunch of small details that really help set the stage for the Jedi Order at this time. I like that Indara kindly stops everyone from laughing at May and says Jedi don't attack the unarmed, and then we get our first glimpse at what is driving May, because she responds that the Jedi do. We've seen in the trailers a flashback to when Sol met his Padawan, and clearly things don't go well. Whatever happened, May seems to hold the Jedi responsible, and now she's hunting down those specific Jedi that were present. May has to goad Indara into fighting by attacking everyone else in the tavern, and everything that followed was rad. The wire work and the choreography looked cool. I love that Indara refused to pull out her lightsaber until she felt it was absolutely necessary, which, yes, is in a moment of self-defense, but it's also right after she recognizes May. I think there's more to that moment, but I'm gonna save it for when we get to Episode 2 and Master Torben. I love that May seems like she is truly hurt and floundering a bit. She's outmatched and struggling to keep up. She definitely gets some good hits in, fueled by her rage, but in the end, she has to threaten the life of an innocent bystander to sneak in a killing blow. We also see that she's not a complete monster out to kill anyone and everyone. She stops herself from killing the barkeep after she sees his adorable puppet child. Again, I think she is motivated by some true pain and grief that the Sith or whoever are twisting into darkness. I'm bummed that Carrie-Anne Moss is already out of the story, but I'm also not that surprised. I was guessing this would be the opening scene of the series as the catalyst for everything to follow. We know we'll see Indara again in flashbacks, and having May take down freaking Trinity right away shows that even though she can seem out of her depth, she can still get the job done.
Explaining complex topics can be challenging.
Definitely is out of her depth 100%. And that's something that I think they are showing quite eloquently. Like, she is out of her depth, unequivocally. But I think that, I think tomorrow's episode is going to do a lot to kind of establish what we're really going to be dealing with in this crazy show. I'm hoping, 100% I am hoping, that we actually get to see kind of a longer episode tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be doing our Acolyte watch party at starting at 5:30 p.m. PST. Tomorrow we're also going to be getting ready for The Boys. We're going to be doing that around 3. So, yeah, we're going to be doing a back-to-back double feature tomorrow, talking about The Boys Season 4 and getting ready for episode 3 of The Acolyte. It's going to be an amazing time. Wednesday is for our From Watcher to Reader, basically not season finale, because the book review will be the season finale, but it's the end of the book. We're going to be talking about all that stuff. And then on Wednesday, later that night on Wednesday, is when The Boys is going to be releasing at 11:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, as opposed to its usual time of well, basically not that late, you know what I mean? Like before, it came out at like I think it was 6 p.m. PST, but now it's, for some reason, it's not coming out at 6 p.m. PST anymore. And I'm kind of thinking it's because there may have been reasons of, like, that may have been the reason why the episode was always stalling. I don't know if you guys remember, but when we were doing our watch parties and reviews for The Boys, sometimes the episode didn't even drop that day that it was supposed to, and we had to wait all the way into the next day for whatever reason. And I think that may be something to do with all the time zone stuff, because I'm pretty sure it's like based in New Zealand or something for Amazon Prime Video or whatever. I'm not sure. It's something wild like that, but it's going to be interesting to see how, you know, this season is going to be and how this 11:30 release affects the show, and I guess also the watch parties, because the watch parties are usually pretty lit. People love The Boys, and I love it too, so I'm going to be hyped to see that. And then we're going to be getting ready for House of the Dragon on Saturday. Oh, that's the wrong time. It says 5 p.m. there, but I meant to put like 3 p.m. or 2 p.m. because I want to get that done earlier. And then on Sunday, of course, we're going to be doing our House of the Dragon watch party and review, which I am super pumped for. So I hope you guys are all ready for that fantastic goodness that's going to be coming out this week. Make sure you guys go and like all the videos, because if you all those videos are scheduled. Actually, I might be able to add these to a playlist for yeah, I can make a new playlist right here. That's actually gas. Let's put Marvel. Let's put the MB guide, and this is week 6, 9 through 6, 15. Create. And then we can drop that playlist right on in here. And I believe that playlist should have... Oh, well, I guess those videos aren't out, so I guess they can't be in there. But, hey. The lives are there and scheduled, so y'all can go and check them out. Okay. House of the Dragon Season 2 this week. Let's go. Yeah, that's right, MCT. Hope to see you there, brother. This week is packed all of a sudden. It's insane. And it's going to be pretty crazy like every single week from here on out, if I'm not mistaken. Because we're gonna have these 3 shows going. We got House of the Dragon, Acolyte, and The Boys. Those are gonna be running simultaneously for a while, like for weeks, like the whole, like damn near for weeks. All the shows are gonna be synchronized, and I think The Boys is gonna be the last one to finish. It's gonna be like the Acolyte will finish first, then House of the Dragon will finish, and then The Boys will finish, and it's gonna be insane. Because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure The Boys has like 10 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. It's good to see some people it's good to see some people not afraid to like this show. Yeah, I agree. It's good to see people not afraid to like the show. Yeah, for real. Because there's no reason to not like the show. The show is amazing, in my opinion. Problems with Watt episodes. Oh, yeah. That's right. The Watt episodes weren't up for everybody. That was super weird. Yeah. So maybe Amazon is just all around trying to try a new system. So that means maybe we might even get everything at this new 11:30 time.
Then cut over to Osha. I think they kind of leave room for us to believe that she might have actually killed Indara when her buddy asks why she didn't come party with them on Nar Shaddaa. First off, I always love a mention of the Smuggler's Moon, but second, I don't think they were really pushing for the audience to believe Osha was the killer. She is immediately more cheerful and bright, happy to talk to her droid Pip and joke with her friends. I'm really glad the twin thing was not treated as a big twist. People had that pretty well figured out, and they weren't exactly being subtle with it in the marketing. I was a little worried that it would be like a mid-season bombshell, but instead it's revealed fairly quickly so we can move on to other mysteries. Osha is currently working on a Trade Federation ship as a mechanic. Oh, excuse me, a mechneck, which I find to be a little silly. We can just say mechanic. That word already exists in Star Wars, but that's a tiny nitpick. Because ultimately, I was happy to see Nemoidians and the Trade Federation. It feels right as we're still in celebration mode for the Phantom Menace's birthday, and it's good to see this faction in its earlier stages. And surprise, surprise, they're acting exactly like a mega corporation would, loudly prioritizing their cargo over the lives of real people, and we later find out that they're sending organic beings to do outer ship repairs when it's illegal. Osha, who we now know has a very appropriate name, has to put out a fire and pauses as she deals with the trauma it reminds her of. We learn later that her family died in a fire supposedly started by May. That's the tragedy haunting May, and it's clear that it's still affecting Osha as well. Before she can dwell on it, a Jedi starfighter appears. It looks like an updated Vector, which is the primary Jedi starfighter of the High Republic books and comics. I love that the same basic design is used, but it does look updated since the series takes place a century after those books. I hope we get a better look at it in future episodes. Yord and his Padawan Tassi board the ship, and I love the look of the Jedi robes. The white and gold are prevalent in the High Republic in contrast with the brown and beige we tend to see in the prequel era. Tassi has a green sash under her belt to indicate that she is a Padawan, as well as the color of her lightsaber. All of these details are taken straight from the books and comics that shaped this era. The white and gold robes are called temple robes and are used more formally. Brown and gold are mission robes, which we see later. But it looks like Yord doesn't expect to be getting into a fight on this ship. He tells the Nemoidian he's looking for Osha Anasaia, our first time hearing her full name, which matches the name of Mother Anasaia, who we've seen in the trailers as the leader of a coven of witches. I just thought May and Osha were members of the coven, but that might actually be their mother. Or maybe every member of the coven takes that last name. It's too early to tell. Before this series started, I had a feeling I would like Yord, and I was right. I like him a lot. Not in the sense that I think he's cool, I actually think he's a complete dork, but he's an entertaining dork to watch, always wanting to appear proper and looking embarrassed when Osha catches him relaxing instead of standing at attention, refusing to show any affection towards her or reciprocate her jokes. Granted, he thinks she might be a murderer, but still, that guy has got a massive stick up his evacuation port. This is where we learn the most about Osha's past. Her family's death...
What are you talking about? Whose accent? Oh, the aliens? Are you talking about the aliens?
Right before she joined the Jedi, and the fact that she was 8 when she became a Padawan. So she's very similar to Anakin in that regard. I like that 100 years earlier, the Jedi are still iffy about age and attachments, but are in general more flexible. Maybe the events of this story caused them to rethink things a bit, because Dooku's first Padawan, Rael Averross, was also considered to be a bit old to start his training, and he was 5. And then, of course, Qui-Gon Jinn eventually brings in a 9-year-old, which the Jedi Council really doesn't like. Osha is taken into custody, and then we cut over to Coruscant and the Jedi Temple. I pointed this out in my trailer breakdowns, but I love that the temple is elevated a little higher than the rest of Coruscant. You can even see trees on a pathway. The planet is still building, and a century later will have reached up to the temple, almost as if it's beginning to swallow the Order. Inside, Sol teaches a group of younglings, echoing words Obi-Wan Kenobi will one day tell Luke Skywalker. He also says to imagine diving into the Force as if it were a great ocean. A Jedi named Elzar Mann from the High Republic books saw the Force as an ocean. Many of the Jedi of this era saw the Force in their own unique ways, again showing that they were more flexible and less dogmatic. One of the younglings says she sees a fire consuming everything, which gives Sol pause. I imagine he is thinking of the same disaster that shaped May and Osha. His lesson ends, and he meets with Vernestra Rowe, a prominent character from the books. She's now 100 years older and looking great for her age. She is clearly well respected in the Order, and I wouldn't be surprised to find out she's on the Jedi Council. She's not acting the way way I hoped she would, though. She seems more concerned with optics than the truth, worrying that the political enemies of the Jedi might pounce on even the idea of a former Padawan killing Jedi. She wants to deal with this quickly and discreetly, and that attitude could have serious consequences for an innocent person. That bums me out a little, but it might very well be part of her story and arc. And like I said, it's been a century, and we don't even know how her book story will end. I'm a little taken aback by how she's acting now, but that doesn't mean it's out of line. We just don't have the whole picture right now.
I'm a bee, and I bumbled my way into your
point. And for us, we don't know who she is because we have never seen this. We have never like read the books that she's in. So it's like, you know, to us, it's our first time viewing her. And of course, a child would be completely different from how an adult would be, especially when that adult is 100 years older.
Acting now, but that doesn't mean it's out of line. We just don't have the whole picture right now. On the prison transport, other convicts offer Osha a chance to escape, risking death rather than letting the Jedi deal with them, but she refuses because she has faith in the Order. I have a feeling that's going to change over the course of this series, but for now she is seen as a goody two-shoes, and the other prisoners leave her behind to die. We see her attempting and failing to use the Force, so we know she's long out of practice. She saves another prisoner who is left to die, and then crashes on the icy planet Karlak, which is a planet from the Clone Wars, where Ahsoka Tano happened to meet Bo-Katan Kryze for the first time. And by the way, those droid pilots that can simply turn into chairs are a great and fun design. I really like Sol so far and how they're setting him up to be a father figure for Osha as much as a teacher. He keeps hollows of her, which his current Padawan Jeki asks him about. She thinks he's going against Jedi teachings, holding on to past sentiment and nostalgia, but he explains that meditating on the past keeps us from making the same mistakes over again. I think he's right, and I like his attitude, but I also think it's interesting how quickly Jeki accepts what he says. She seems less straight-laced than, say, Yord, but hangs on every word her master says. We see the detainment level of the Jedi Temple, which we've briefly seen before in the High Republic comics. The crazy prisoner Osha saved is ranting about sensing darkness in her, which is interesting. Right now, I don't think she has anything to do with any murders, but that doesn't mean she can't be driven to darkness just like her sister, especially if she learns some new information. Or maybe there is something special to the link they seem to share. Osha has a vision through the Force where she travels through her past and learns her sister is alive for the first time in 16 years.
That would be a crazy twist. Like May and Osha both end up like on the complete dark side as twins, like twin Sith acolytes. That would be crazy.
I thought May was doing that and reaching out, but then she seemed surprised to learn that Osha is alive in episode 2. It kinda reminds me of Rey and Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi. I wonder if someone else is manipulating both of them through the Force. Maybe May's master. Sol and Jeki leave for Karlak to see if they can find Osha, and they bring Yord along, who is caught steaming his mission robes, probably so he can look crisp and clean and perfect. That's some real Cyril Karn energy there, bud. Jeki doesn't seem to like him, but she's not all that different, asking Sol if she has permission to speak freely every time she has something to say. Sol tells his little team about Osha and her twin, a fact that was not in her file and that Yord never knew about despite having known Osha from her time in the Order. That definitely stinks of a cover-up. The Jedi are hiding something. Yord takes one look around the crashed ship and convinces himself Osha must be dead, but Sol feels her through the Force and their connection and gives chase, catching up to her, and they have a moment that feels inspired by the fugitive chasing down a murder suspect, which is a scene that inspired part of the Clone Wars episode The Jedi Who Knew Too Much. But I'm glad to see Osha doesn't jump and go on the run, but instead goes with Sol. And I'm glad to see that he believes her. It would have been frustrating for the Jedi to keep chasing a false lead when we, the audience, know the truth. The episode ends with May going to meet someone the subtitles simply call the Stranger, the person wielding the red lightsaber we've seen in the trailers, who we assume for now is a Sith. They give a speech about how an Acolyte can destroy what the Jedi stand for. Attacking a Jedi with a weapon doesn't do anything. People have faith in the Jedi. People were upset by Indara's murder. But part of Palpatine's ultimate goal is to force the Jedi into the Clone Wars, muddying their reputation and their principles until the average Republic citizen no longer idolized them. It's too early to see the full plan, but I figure the Stranger is manipulating May's grief to get that snowball rolling. It'll take another 100 years, but this series could be the start of the Jedi losing their luster in the eyes of the galaxy. I will say the episode ends very abruptly, both of them do. I think the reunion between Osha and Sol would have been a more satisfying end to the episode, but I guess they wanted to give audiences a tease for the Stranger. Fortunately, we can move right on to episode 2. On the planet Olega, we follow May on another attempted murder. I like that maybe every episode could start out with her mission and then the Jedi attempting to keep up. She waltzes through the temple without a problem, and I think that could be because Jedi robes aren't quite as standardized at this point, or it could be that the Jedi work more freely with the citizens of whatever planet they're on. May fails to kill a Master Torben, who is quietly floating and meditating and has a cool invisible force shield bubble around him. Osha bonds a bit with Jeki, while Yord complains that she's not restrained. He is still convinced that she is the murderer and will escape. Joseph Scrimshaw from Force Center Podcast joked that Yord could be Ki-Adi-Mundi's master down the line, and while I think that's funny, I also think Yord could absolutely be part of his lineage. He is so sure of himself every time he speaks, and he's almost always wrong. The Jedi Order is ready to believe Sol, though. Vernestra tells Sol about Torben's attempted murder and readily admits that Osha couldn't have done it. I'm really glad we're not spending a lot of time hemming and hawing over whether or not Osha is the killer. I would much rather keep things moving along. I like that Yord complains again, but shuts up once Sol says he got Jedi approval. May goes to get some help from a friend of sorts named Kymir. He knows all about her mission, and we also learn that in order to please their master, May needs to kill a Jedi without a weapon. But right now, she needs a poison to get through Torben's force shield, and Kymir obliges while he talks about the Jedi. I love that we get the line from the trailer where he says the Jedi justify their galactic dominance in the name of peace, but peace is a lie. But this time, May cuts him off and finishes the sentence for him, annoyed by it. They're both quoting the start of the Sith Code. Peace is a lie, there is only passion. I thought Kymir might have been trying to sneak that in from the trailer, but here it seems like they're both familiar with the meaning behind those words. At the very least, they both seem to know about the Sith. I still don't trust Kymir at all. May threatens him if he tells their master she used a poison, and part of me is like, he might be the master, just manipulating you into killing Jedi and potentially bringing to light one of their past crimes. Whatever is going on, May has a fearful relationship with her master. Meanwhile, we see Osha have a nice conversation with her former master about a tattoo she got. Again, they have a very nice parent-child relationship. They reflect on the night May supposedly died, and Osha assures Sol that what happened that night wasn't his fault. I'm not so sure based on everything that's going on, because May breaks back into the Olega Temple and is able to break Torben out of his meditation. She mentions that he took the Barash vow, which was an oath some Jedi took as a form of penance. If they did something they regretted, they would usually go off on their own to commune with the Force. It seems like Torben may have just shut down and gone silent for a decade instead. So, what does he regret? We aren't allowed to know yet, but it's pretty telling that he would rather drink poison than admit to what really happened back then. All he says is that they thought they were doing the right thing. So Indara, Torben, Kelnaka, and Sol did something that night on May's homeworld. They're saying May started a fire that killed her family, but I doubt that very much. I also think it's more complicated than saying the Jedi started the fire. Maybe they had an impossible decision to make, but whatever happened probably didn't look good, so they left information out of the official report. The Jedi, of course, show up too late to stop Torben's death, and Osha arrives first, having been led there by another vision of her sister. It looks bad for her, but then Yord, of all people, clears her name. Again, I am glad we're not spending a lot of time throwing suspicions at Osha, and it's nice that Yord is able to come around to trusting her. But his good moment doesn't last long. The Jedi track down Kymir, figuring he supplied May with the poison, and Yord gives the most by-the-book strategy to question him. But Jeki is able to think outside of the box given their current situation and assets, so they send Osha in to pretend to be May to get a confession out of Kymir, and it works. Well enough, I think. I'm still very suspicious of Kymir, so I wonder if he's just playing along, pretending to be tricked, and giving just enough away, but not too much. They plan a trap to capture May, and Sol and Osha fight over who gets to confront her. Osha is mad because, for all she knows, May killed her family and destroyed her life. But Sol shuts her down, saying she's too angry and full of grief, and that he has to confront May alone. But I wonder if he's also trying to keep some things buried. He might be afraid May will drop some truth bombs if given the chance. We get another cool fight, and again, I think it's great that the Jedi are relying more on martial arts here rather than going straight for their lightsabers. I do wonder why May's master wants her to do the same, but I'm sure we're going to find out more about that. She eventually gives up again and goes for her knives, but the reveal that Sol grabbed them all mid-fight was pretty slick. He tries to read her mind and sees that May doesn't even know who her master is. And this is where we learn that she thought Osha was dead, which is very interesting. They both come face to face, and Osha misses her stun shots as May escapes in a speeder. I think she missed intentionally, which is also interesting. I really can't wait to see those flashback scenes. I like that the mystery isn't a whodunit so much as a whodunit. What are the Jedi hiding, and why does May want to kill them all?
So happy
May tries to kill Chimere for selling her out, but he shows a bit of combat training of his own, overpowering her. I've still got my eyes on you, Chimere. He makes up for his betrayal by promising to get her to Kofar, the planet where her next target lives, and the final scene introduces us to the planet and the Wookiee Jedi Kelnaka. He scares off some scavengers and breaks a blaster rifle in half with his bare hands, and once again, the episode ends rather abruptly. That's my only big criticism of the series so far, is each ending has me going, oh, it's over. Andor did that in some episodes too, resolving in arcs rather than individual episodes. The Acolyte seems like it wants to end with a tease of what's to come next, which is fine, but like I said, those endings are very sudden. Other than that, I am into this mystery. I definitely want to dive into those flashbacks and hope it doesn't happen before too long. And of course, we've got the mysterious stranger and his red lightsaber on the horizon. Those scenes look like they might take place in a forest, so it might happen next week on Kofar. I look forward to more exploration into how the Sith are operating in secret right now, but I think it's pretty messed up that they seem to be preying on the genuine grief of others, pushing them into murder. But it's true to life. People in power or in the media or online will stoke fear and anger to bring out our worst instincts. I hope the Acolyte keeps digging into that. But I think I've said enough for now, so let me know what you thought of the Acolyte's premiere episodes in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our Acolyte coverage, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page, where we'll release our video reactions and audio commentaries for every episode as they come.
When you have rheumatoid arthritis.
I am so here for it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that they did a really good job with this, with the show. The show is doing everything that I think all of us needed to in its own way. And for those of us that haven't had it do what we needed to, I think it's just hasn't happened yet. I think it's on its way. You know what I mean? Like, it's right around the corner, and I'm pumped for that. Like, it's gonna be so hype. Excuse me. It's gonna be so hype. Like, I really can't wait. All right, let's check out some more.
Has made her live-action debut in The Acolyte. So, what do you need to know about her past and origins? Today I'm going to cover her history from the books and comics. Vernestra Rwoh was created by author Justina Ireland for the High Republic Publishing Initiative, which established the era in which The Acolyte takes place. She technically first appeared in the book Light of the Jedi, but her first real adventure was in A Test of Courage. She was a newly promoted Jedi Knight at the young age of 16 and was seen as a bit of a prodigy. While traveling on a passenger ship, a group of marauders called the Nile sabotaged the vessel, but Vernestra, a Padawan named Imri Kentaros, and a young gifted scientist named Avon Staros got out in an escape pod. They crashed on a hostile planet where Imri had to grapple with the dark side after losing his master in the passenger ship's explosion. After they were rescued, Vernestra decided to take Imri as her own Padawan. During that story, she also revealed that she had modified her lightsaber to become a light whip, which wasn't exactly something all the other Jedi were cool with. They were weapons known to be used by Night Sisters at some point in history, although Vernestra explains that they were also used by Jedi back during the Sith Wars to adapt to the fighting styles of their enemies. She made the modification after a vision came to her, and she was certain it was the will of the Force. I'll talk about the weapon more when we actually see it in the show, but I think it's a sign that Vernestra, at least when she was younger, was more concerned with listening to the Force rather than strictly adhering to dogma or the rules. In the novel Out of the Shadows, Vernestra meets a very old woman named Mari Santeca who was held captive and being kept alive by the Nile. She was able to use the Force to find hyperspace paths which the Nile could weaponize. Before dying, Mari passed a vision to Vernestra, and from that point forward she began experiencing more visions when she traveled through hyperspace and sometimes even saw glimpses of or held conversations with Mari Santeca. After the events of the book Mission to Disaster in the Fallen Star, Imri was thought to be dead in the destruction of Starlight Beacon. Vernestra spent about a year on her own away from the Jedi Order as a Wayseeker. That type of Jedi was someone who operated outside of the Jedi Council, following the will of the Force more than the Order itself. That lines up with the creation of her light whip. But she was feeling hopeless in the face of the Nile and their senseless destruction, fearing the Jedi Order couldn't defeat them. Now I'm going to get into details from Phase 3 of the High Republic, specifically the book Defy the Storm, which which came out somewhat recently. I won't be talking about Temptation of the Force, which Vernestra will be appearing in, because that book isn't out at the time of releasing this video. But Vernestra learns that Imri actually survived the fall of Starlight Beacon and was trapped in Nihil space. But he had spent his year behind enemy lines, helping the people of the planet he was on. He wasn't consumed by hopelessness, but instead continued to fight the Nihil even on a smaller scale. When Vernestra realized her Padawan spent his time better than she had chosen to, her hope and sense of duty was restored, and she knighted Imri, who stayed in Nihil territory to continue the fight. And that's the basics of Vernestra's story so far. She will be appearing in future books, and obviously we know she survives the events of the High Republic Publishing Initiative because 100 years later she is seen as a well-respected Jedi Master. I will say, I'm a little bummed to see her so worried about what the political enemies of the Jedi think. The way she talks about Osha in the premiere episode, it seems like she's more concerned with resolving the issue quickly than she is finding the truth. But she changes her tune in the second episode, so at least she's not inflexible. I'm also not saying this is out of character for her. It's been 100 years and we don't know how Vernestra's story will end in the books and comics. I can already see those stories potentially setting up a path for this gifted student of the Force to eventually become more dogmatic. That might be her primary arc, we simply don't know yet. And even if the books don't conclude her story that way, a lot can happen to a person in a century of living. Leslie Headland reads the books. She knows about the Light Whip. I can't imagine she would have pulled Vernestra into the story just for the sake of it. I might revisit her full arc once the books and comics wrap up in 2025. But for now, I think Vernestra's characterization can show us what living in an institution like the Jedi Order can do to a young free thinker. She was seen as young and gifted and unique, making a light whip, listening to the Force, and carving out her path. But the Acolyte is meant to take place at the end of the High Republic era, when the Jedi have just begun to lose that individuality. They become more standardized in their appearance and their philosophy. Even though it bums me out to see Vernestra possibly going down that path, I do think that's what we're supposed to understand from the character, at least for now. We know she's still got that light whip, she's still got that free thinking spirit in there somewhere. Maybe we'll get to see it come back out. But that's it for today. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our Acolyte coverage, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page, where we'll release our video reactions and audio commentaries for...
This is your brain. They be doing the damn thing. I'm telling you, they be doing a damn thing on Star Wars Explained and on New Rockstars. Now, Star Wars Explained is just Bro and his wife, if I'm not mistaken. I guess I have more to catch up on than I realized. Oh, Marisu, I think there's 3 or 4 books that take place in the High Republic era, and I don't think they're done. Like he just said, I don't think that that entire arc is finished until 2026. Let's see, the High Republic books, and they actually build on a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's 3 books so far. At least there's 3 books right here. Oh no, there's a lot more than 3 books. Oh my god. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yo. The chronological reader's guide. Oh, there's hella books, Marisu. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We don't even know what Star Wars is. Holy. Phase 1. What? Yo, I literally had no clue. Oh, look at that lightsaber. Holy hell. Okay, that's fire. Oh, we got hella comics, novels. Or are these all comics? Oh my goodness. Holy shit. There's so much. What's happening? Yo. And there's... Whoa. Oops. Where'd she go? That's what we were just talking about. There she is. A young her. What the hell? Yo, look at these different types of lightsabers. What happened? Where'd it go? What? There we go. Like, look at that. Look at the hilt on that thing. Yo, these are looking fantastic. I need to... Okay, so some of these are novels, it's looking like, and some of these are comics as well. Okay, so they're not all comics. Because you can clearly see which ones are comics because they have the comic, like the Marvel stuff in the top left-hand corner. And the ones that don't, I believe all of those are actual, like, books. Do they have, like, a... Oh my gosh, look at that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is like an actual, I don't know, a print. There we go. It's print only. And then these ones are actually comics. That's insane. Oh my God. Issue 1 of 5, mind you. Like, so there are multiple issues within these things. There she is again. So she's like a main character in the High Republic era. Damn, so it's like a big deal that she's in this show. Oh shit, that's Yoda. This is a High Republic book with my guy Yoda. Hey, wait, that's the homie too, bro. Yo, what? I was about to say, is that her again? But no. Holy hell, there's so much. These aren't the droids you're looking for, it's crazy. Damn. Okay, okay. In phase 1, Light of the Jedi, we meet new Jedi heroes as they defend the Republic amid the Great Disaster and dedicate a new space station, Starlight Beacon, about 200 years before the start of the Skywalker saga. Or step back another 150 years with Phase 2, Quest of the Jedi, for a prequel that explores a galaxy of rugged explorers still looking to unite planets on the Outer Rim. And in Phase 3, Trials of the Jedi, we return to the year after the events in Phase 1 for a thrilling conclusion that pits the Jedi against powerful new foes as the Republic struggles in a chaotic time in the galaxy. Yo, they have complete fleshed out phases. This is insane. I need to count how many books are in the Quest of the Jedi phase. Quest of the Jedi. So this is phase 1. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different projects just in the first phase. Oh my God. And that's not to mention that some of those projects have 5 issues because they're comic books. Bro, holy, what? How have I not known about this is how I feel. Like, I am baffled. I am completely baffled. That has to be one of the reasons for this show as well, is to get people into the High Republic era, because there are 3 phases in, and probably not a lot of people know about it. There's no way people know about this because I haven't heard about it. I mean, I know bro was just literally breaking down the entire show from the book, but I mean, he's a super duper extreme nerd that's read every single one of these phases. Like, how? I am so mind blown. I guess I have more to catch. Man, Star Wars is the only property I can think of where the books are actually canon with the shows, and they capitalize on that fantastically. Like, they capitalize on that in the best way possible, truthfully. I'm overwhelmed, man. Like, there's so much. There's so much, Marisu. Like, what are we gonna do? How do we catch up with all of this? Do you think it's possible? I don't even know if it's possible. I don't know. And it's not like we can just listen to audiobooks on it, because these are comics. These aren't these aren't even books. Like, most of these are comics. Like it says Dark Horse Comics right here, yo. Oh my gosh. This is the Star Wars website too. So this is everything from the High Republic stuff. That's wild. How many people are reading these, though? It gotta be a lot of people. A lot of people gotta be reading these. I mean, they're still making them, and they have created an entire show for, like, based off of this era as well. So they have to be still making these. I mean, there has to be a lot of people that's interested in them. Like, right? I didn't even know what I was about to Google, but that's insane. Will this loop back around to what's going on in Ahsoka, you think? That's kind of my main theory, for real, is that the High Republic stuff is going to come back around. Because if we look at the Star Wars what is it? It's like the Star Wars timeline. I think that's what it's called. Images. No. This one. Open image in new tab. Right? So we have these two back here. We know a lot about these two. You know what I mean? Well, not a lot, but we know we know enough about them that we don't really need. We don't really need to know a lot about these. That's the thing, right? This is the thing that's kind of funny. We don't need to know too much about these, but we do need to know a shit ton about these. And what we don't know, so the High Republic is the stuff that's happening all in the books, and the New Republic is the stuff that's happening all on the Disney Plus shows. So that's actually something that I think is kind of dope, is that we get to kind of experience it in this kind of non-linear, linear way. And you guys have heard me say it. It's my new favorite saying, Star Wars is a never-ending backstory, right? So right now we're right here at the High Republic, and everything, now that we see there has to be more than, I mean, if there's 3 phases, let's just assume that each one of those phases have 14 projects each, okay? Like, we don't even know that for a fact, but let's just assume that out of those 3 phases, each one of them has 14 projects, right? That means there's over 42. There's over 42 different 42 different issues of or material. There's over 42 because some of those are comic books that have multiple issues. So there's over 42 issues that are based on the High Republic era, right? The Fall of the Jedi, I don't think we know too much about that, like, because we're kind of that, like, the Acolyte is basically based right here, like, on the timeline. That's the best thing that I can kind of think of, is the Acolyte being placed, like, right here on the timeline, because we know that this is going to be like the end of the High Republic, and it's looking like it's also going to be the start of the Fall of the Jedi. Okay, from the reign of the Empire all the way basically until the rise of the First Order, like reign of the Empire to the rise of the Force, all of this is the Skywalker saga. Like from the reign of the Empire to the age of the rebellion, like all of that. Well, no, I'm tripping. I'm high. The Fall of the Jedi is Order 66. My bad. That's my bad. I don't know what just happened to me. So we're like right here, really. We're not right here. We're more like right here, because this is all leading into the Fall of the Jedi for real. So that's we've seen from the Fall of the Jedi all the way to the rise of the First Order. So now the new thing that we have to focus in on is the rise of the New Order, the New Jedi Order, right? because the rise of the First Order is what we already saw happen in 7, 8, and 9. So now that we got this new Jedi Order that's about to come into play, there's going to be something really important for us to do. And that's going to be go back to the basics of the dawn of the Jedi. Because if you look at these, like if you look at this, and then you look at this, they are very similar. Even if you look at the Old Republic and the Dawn of the Jedi emblems, they are kind of this emblem combined. Like, those emblems combined make the new Jedi Order. And I don't think that is a mistake, and I don't think that's by accident or anything like that. I think it's actually going to go into a much larger thing that we have yet to find out about, the same way that we explored more of what the Jedi meant and what the Jedi were doing in the Clone Wars and all the animated stuff, right? So now when we get back to Rey and the new Jedi Order that she's going to be trying to make, there's going to be a whole lot of things that she needs to find and capitalize on. And the only quote-unquote Jedi that it should hopefully still be around at that time, well, there's going to actually be multiple now that we know that how they've done it, but you know, we're going to have Ezra, we're going to have Ahsoka, we're going to have, well, if they don't die in the Mandalorian movie, but you know, we're going to have them to kind of be around to teach her some of those things that they learned from the old Jedi way through what Balin found in Ahsoka. Like, I have I would not be surprised if we could even see, well, no, that's on a completely different planet. Never mind. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I don't mean that. But you know, we are ready. Like, we're ready to get it. I'm ready. Like, this is amazing. So much content.
What does it mean to kill a Jedi without using a weapon? The Sith on the hill at the end of the first episode of The Acolyte says if you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail. Steel or laser are no threat to them. But obviously, we've seen May kill a Jedi with steel already, and we've seen Order 66 happen, so lasers kill them. So what is the point of this speech? I think the Sith is trying to get May to think outside the box. Sure, you can kill a Jedi, but how do you kill the dream of the Jedi? How do you destroy a Jedi completely? And not just one Jedi, but the entire Jedi Order. You've got to destroy their reputation first. The High Republic era is a time when the Jedi are almost universally thought of as heroes. Not only that, but they are part of the galactic community. There are temples and outposts on tons of different worlds, not just on Coruscant. We see Master Indara hanging out in a tavern with people that seem very friendly with her, laughing at the silly girl demanding she be attacked. And most importantly, when she dies, there is a sense of loss. The bartender is visibly upset and willing to help bring the murderer to justice. Killing a Jedi right now doesn't accomplish much for the Sith. If anything, it makes their enemies even more noble. It makes them martyrs. The Sith have to get to a point where the Jedi are not only dead and gone, but the citizens of the galaxy have to be willing to accept that. That's where we find ourselves in the prequels. That's part of the brilliance of Palpatine's plan, which is, of course, the culmination of the entire Sith Order's plan ever since Darth Bane created the Rule of Two. He orchestrates a galactic conflict and manipulates the Jedi into becoming involved, into becoming generals. Mace Windu in Attack of the Clones asserts that the Jedi are keepers of the peace, not soldiers, but we find them running around the galaxy leading soldiers. The Clone Wars series shows growing anti-Jedi sentiment as they are seen as part of a destructive war that won't end. Republic citizens on Coruscant have lost faith in the Jedi, as seen in Trace and Rafa when they meet Ahsoka, and of course Separatist worlds view the Jedi as straight-up enemies. The point is, throughout the Clone Wars, the Jedi lost their luster. They lost their status as obvious heroes. They were proven to be fallible. So when the Chancellor turned Emperor said they tried to take control of the government, people were willing to believe him. When the Jedi were killed in Order 66 and the following Purge, people accepted it. Sure, the blaster bolts of the clone troopers killed the individual Jedi, but Palpatine's machinations destroyed the Jedi Order, and their fall began before the Clone Wars. We can already see by the time of the Phantom Menace that the Jedi have become more centralized on Coruscant. They're no longer a constant presence across the galaxy. Books like The Living Force show the Jedi closing more and more of their outposts. The fall of the Jedi era of the Star Wars timeline begins not long after the events of The Acolyte. This series is showing us the very end of their time where they are largely viewed as heroic, and already we can see the cracks beginning to form. Yord gleefully wields his power over the the Trade Federation official. Vernestra
Crazy.
Rowe seems more concerned with solving Indara's murder quickly and quietly rather than truthfully. And of course, we know something bad happened on Mayandosha's homeworld because Master Torben decided he would rather drink poison than admit to his crimes. So I think we're going to see, obviously, not the destruction of the entire Jedi Order in this series, but maybe...
I really hope whatever that thing is super intense, because, man, I'm telling you, if it ends up being something crazy whack, and I'm going to be like, you're telling me bro drank poison instead of just explaining that they couldn't reach her on the other side of the fire? Like, nah, son, come on. That's not that. That has to be some crazy shit. Like, did they murder all of the witches there? Like, did they do like a witch genocide? Now, that would be some crazy shit. Like, they find out that they're... Whoo! Tell me that wouldn't be insane, because think about this. Think about this for a second. In the trailer, we see one of the Jedi's eyes go straight black. Did they take over one of the Jedi's mind and make them slaughter people? Or did the Jedi have to slaughter them because they didn't want them to take the daughter away because she was force sensitive? Like, I would be down for either one of those, and it would actually add some crazy malice to the vibe. I know that actually people would be horrified if something like that happened and stained the Jedi name, but I mean, the Jedi name has been stained.
Maybe the destruction of one Jedi without the use of a weapon. I'm going into speculation now. Full disclosure, I have seen the first 4 episodes of the series already. I'm not going to be spoiling anything from those episodes or even using them in my coming thoughts. But still, this is a mystery to be unraveled, and if you want to avoid any possible thoughts on the future of what's to come, this is your warning. Okay.
Yeah, I'm out of here, buddy. Because I feel like... I'm out of here, buddy. But, yo, I think that is insane and fantastic. Like, those were some hell of a breakdowns right there, man. For real. Shout out to those, both of those creators and everybody that was partaking and writing the scripts and doing all the amazing stuff to put all that nerdy information together. Because that's amazing. I love me some nerd content, baby. Love me some stuff. Ooh, like, bro, I already knew that I didn't know like a lot about Star Wars like that, but damn, son, now it goes even deeper. Like, I already knew I haven't read a lot of the books that were canon in like the modern era, because there are books in the Skywalker saga, comics and books alike that are canon, you know what I mean? And I know I haven't seen those. So now it's like there is an entire other layer of media that I have never ever seen in my life or even knew about, that gives so much more context and knowledge to what's actually going on within Star Wars. And it's going to be super interesting to see if this is a Force dyad in this set. Like, if we get a Force dyad with these twins, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of changes the lore of Star Wars and all that good stuff. Because, again, it is a never-ending backstory that is always getting better and better. And I am so excited to continue on this journey of the Acolyte, starting tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. PST. And I hope to see all of you beautiful people there. It's like a wheel. It's like a wheel. Yeah, of course, Marisu. Community policing, which is crazy. There's a quote from Battlestar Galactica. There's a reason you don't mix police with the military. The police protect and serve the citizens, and the military fights enemies of the state. When the police become the military, the citizens have a habit of becoming the enemy of the state. Ooh, hold on. That's actually crazy heat, Marisu. That's actually crazy heat right there. What the what? Oh. That's heat. The Jedi made a mistake along those lines. Yeah, facts. I agree completely. I agree completely. Basically, oh, how far the mighty have fallen. Like that is one hell of a way to see it go. Battlestar Galactica is fire. Yo, I've never seen Battlestar Galactica, Star Trek. I've never seen any of those other I don't want to, you know what I mean? Any of those other sci-fi-esque things. I might have to tap in with them because I keep hearing about them from a lot of people, so I might have to check them out. But you know, Star Wars has always been my place. And there's so much to Star Wars, which is crazy. Like, no wonder Star Wars, like, bro, it's insane. Like, I'm a fan of Star Wars. Like, I like Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I think Star Wars is freaking awesome. I have never read a Star Wars book. Wait, no, that's not true. I've read one Star Wars book. But, you know, like, that was hella long ago. And I don't even know if that was when it was Star Wars was canon. I don't even know if what I read was a canon thing. But it's like, wow. There's 3 phases of High Republic era books. And the first phase has 14 projects. Like, am I a Star Wars fan? Like, you know what I mean? That's one of those things. It's like, wait, what? Like, and it's just insane because everything is canon. Every book, every comic, well, now, you know what I mean? All of the stuff that they make up until this point, like, of course, there is a ton of stuff that was never that isn't canon that people call Legends, right? I think it's Legends, if I'm not mistaken. Is that what it is? And so there's a lot of stuff that happens in Legends that's not canon, right? But once Star Wars started making things having like a canonicity to it, it's like, damn, bro, like there's literally something for everybody. There's comics, there's novels, there's cartoons, there are kid shows, there are movies, there are now more adult type shows like Andor. There are shows like, bruh, it's literally going. The story is being told across eras, bro. We don't really have anything on that scale. And I already knew Star Wars was on that scale, but I just didn't know how, like, whoa. Like, it's like, damn, I think I'm pretty well versed on Star Wars lore, but damn, bro, like, am I? This is crazy. Like, I'm gonna have to start going into those books because I can't be out here as a noob. But with all that being said, I am excited to get into our watch party and review that we will be doing tomorrow for this episode, for this show. It's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be for episode 3 of the Acolyte. I almost said from watcher to reader. But yeah, episode 3 of the Acolyte. It should be insane, to say the very least, bro. Like, I'm so excited for it. At 5:30 p.m. PST, you guys will be able to tune in, and we will be able to talk about the show for a little while before we actually get into the watch party itself. So I'm going to be hyped for that. And then, of course, we also have our Let's Get Ready for the Boys. That's going to be happening tomorrow at 3 p.m. I think that might be a YouTube short, but it might not be. I'm not really sure. We'll see. So I'm pumped about, going into that. And then, of course, we have episode 1 coming out late. Episode 3, coming out later that night. So I hope to see you guys tuning in. And if you go to our actual YouTube channel, if you check out the channel, you'll see that we have all of these scheduled on YouTube. And you guys can go there and click the notification bell to make sure you get notified when we go livey-wivey. All right? So You guys have been awesome yet again. I appreciate everybody that tuned in with us today. If you haven't already, make sure you follow us on social media at Marvel Bros to stay up to date with all things Marvel and everything pop culture. You can also follow me. Oh, I'm in the wrong section. I was like, what's going on here? You can also follow me on social media at Sensei Fedito to stay up to date with all my thoughts, theories, and opinions on every particular thing you may be partaking in at that particular time. And of course, check out that weekly podcast wherever you check out your podcasts at. And shout out to you, Mauricio. I appreciate you for tuning in. I hope to see you tomorrow at whatever time I'll see you. And yes, I will be getting my reading started early. I might mess around and get some reading done tonight. I kind of want to do some writing, but I might mess around and just do that for real, for real. And yeah, yo, I appreciate all of you, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And as I always say, stay awesome, stay nerdy, and don't forget to stay marvelous. Sleep well and wake.
If you guys would like to support Marvel Bros, all you gotta do is visit our website at www.marvelbros.com and buy some merch. Represent the superfan. Or you can join our Patreon to get early access to content, patron-only scoops, giveaways, private Q&As, and those sacred watch parties. We appreciate you guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Excelsior.
On today's pop culture news update.